Hello, folks. It's time to check in with State Representative Tacky Chan of Quincy for a Tacky Talk. We're back on a Tuesday today, Tacky.
Yeah, Tacky Tuesdays today, Joe, on beautiful June 11th. And actually, quite looking out the window now, as you can see I'm looking over my computer screen. It is a wonderful, sunny Tuesday morning.
Yeah, we're blessed this week with some really nice weather, which is very good because there's a lot of outdoor events happening.
Oh, tell me about it. If you've been looking at my Facebook page, I've been going to a lot of outdoor events. And honestly, my grass could take a break from getting too much water. I'm not going to lie about that. And I have an old flower garden pot thing that is an old concrete sink from many moons ago that was in the house. I eventually moved out of the house, so to speak. And yeah, the thing was flooding a little too much. So I think a week of dry sun would be good for
Yeah,
getting
for
the
sure. I think it's going
soil.
to get it too.
Yeah, getting the soil right out. But you've seen some of my Facebook posts. I was at Dragon Boat Festival, eye-dotting ceremony for the opening of Dragon Boats in Boston on Sunday. Boston is the longest continuously running Dragon Boat Festival outside of Hong Kong. And you can see me in the rain trying to dot an I, and everyone's trying to like move this process as quickly as possible. And thank you to firefighter families. We recognize them and their sacrifice on a Sunday morning. And one of the things I wasn't on Facebook was I went to the OCA, which used to be the Organization of Chinese Americans, now is the Advocates of Asians, Americans, and Pacific Islanders annual scholarship dinner at China Pro. I did that in the evening. And I did some grocery shopping in the middle on Sunday. So yeah, it was running around all day Sunday to three events and groceries.
Yeah, and last week, Senator Warren was in Quincy.
Yeah, we saw Senator Warren on Friday at Cayman Marketplace. Quincy Asian Resources got a grant of about 600 and I think 20,000-ish dollars for a workforce development program, working with particularly immigrants and in skill development, English classes, and then of course, the agency does human services. So if you need additional services, we can always provide referrals or provide some direct assistance depending on the situation. So obviously, they have more than one location. As you all heard, Corey has developed a location in Rhode Island and New York, working with Amazon, but also working with the city of New York and its health services and food services down there. And in New York, they have a Chinatown equivalent of South Cove Health Center. They have equivalent of that as Chinatown Health Center they're working with, and they're working with some universities here on workforce training as well. So on top of English classes and referral programs and youth development and festivals, Corey's done some incredible work. And it was great of Senator Warren to come by, visit Cayman Marketplace, to meet the employees, to see how the place is working, and have a chat with stakeholders as well as the state delegation about what our thoughts are regarding workforce down the road.
Yes, important, I think, to point out that the goal is to get immigrants in the work world, not specifically at Cayman, if you will. That was something that somebody asked me about, and I said, well, it's to develop their initial skills, right, in the job world.
Well, it actually is the first place that allowed us to develop a kind of a hybrid skill development. Cayman's been a long time partner regarding especially being paid to take English classes.
Yes.
A lot of employers are not going to pay you for education, especially English classes. So, but that's expanded to places like Boston University. They have a program over there as well, extremely similar to this one. And of course, they have the Woodabon section of the agency, which works with Amazon in its warehouses, centers. And we also got a mental health segment that's now developing. They have their DPH license. They can take insurance. So they're still fully building out that section of the agency. So it is a multi-service agency. It services Quincy residents, obviously think people in Quincy, but also Quincy residents that work outside of Quincy, such as places like BU, but also much more expansive to not just being Quincy residents, to serve all immigrants, regardless of where they're from, not just Asian immigrants, but any immigrant, to get them into the workforce as quickly as possible. And I still believe that putting people to work, gives them pride, gives them a future, gives them the ability to sustain themselves, and set an example for their families. I mean, work is a great pathway to self-confidence.
Yeah, and becoming contributing members of the economy, right, and the society.
Yeah, that's why English classes are so important. That we have a large number of refugees. Let's not even discuss the migrants. I mean, we still have thousands and thousands of refugees from Ukraine, from Afghanistan, and Haiti. I know a lot of migrants are from Haiti, but we have refugees as well prior to the migrant situation that the federal government isn't making an investment in. The state is putting as much as we can effort into our local service agencies, and Quarry is an example of a service agency. If you got working papers, refugees do have working papers to get other skills they need quickly. The example I'll give is up in Lowell with the Cambodian Mutual Assistance. Cambodians, as you may be aware, is another refugee group that came during the 80s. All of them survived the killing fields of Cambodia, the genocide. And they have their own service agency there. There's a lot of Afghan refugees up there. Well, not in an identical situation. Similarly, the Afghan refugees are here, otherwise they'd be dead. And at the same time, though, they had to give up, frankly, a middle-class lifestyle to start over again. Some of them probably even better middle class. So it's interesting enough, one refugee organization from refugees from the 80s and 90s, try to help out a different group of refugees in the 2024s. And what's kind of like sad and interesting is that it's always the same issues reoccur, but a different time period.
Everything old is new again, right? History repeating itself. Yeah, we've seen that throughout time.
Yeah, human tragedy sadly, reoccurs. We just lose sight of it so easily and so quickly that we tend to brush over other people's tragedies, and not like we should mull over it, not like we should sit here and opine on the issue, but there's lessons to be learned, and lessons that didn't work, and find ways to make it work, and some things that do work, we should just keep going.
So yeah, and I know you were at North Quincy High School graduation last night, and I think it's important, we don't hear a lot about how much the state does for the public schools in Massachusetts, and really how much the state contributes to that part of their education.
Yeah, congratulations to North Quincy High School. Great to see the kids. Some of the kids I already saw a few times on actually at the scholarship dinner on Sunday, as well as some kids working on anti-substance abuse, including using too much alcohol. Had some great talks with them, and also was a career day at North Quincy High School back in May. May feels like forever now. So it's good to see some of those kids moving on, and some of the kids' siblings there. And tonight is Quincy High School's graduation. We just talked a little bit before we started the call how Joe's going to be very tired on Wednesday morning from covering two back-to-back graduations. But it's congratulations to the last class that came into high school during the COVID period. It's been 4 years already, and this it's not lost in the speeches with the valedictorian and the class president. And I think tonight we're going to hear something similar from both the valedictorian and the class president. But yeah, state of Massachusetts, Commonwealth, the legislature is still a crucial part of our education system with the Chapter 70 reform, which we've done now 2 reforms in the last, I think, 35 years. We provide substantial funding to the school system, in particular, on top of unrestricted local aid. Combined local aid plus Chapter 70 amounts to approximately $60 million. Over $40 million, like $42+ million is just the Chapter 70 education. But that doesn't count universal school breakfast, universal school lunches, doesn't help with any funding provided for busing, doesn't include, for example, the electric buses that the city was able to qualify for grants a couple of years back to buy some electric buses, start that pilot program here. Does include Chapter 766 SPED programs for kids that are need different types of SPED services outside of the public schools. We're providing funding for those schools. Obviously, I still believe we should provide more funding for those schools. It is almost a 4-to-1 person per student ratio rate, depending on the type of school you're in. It's very labor intensive. I'm obviously very supportive of those programs. The DARE program, like I said earlier about substantive issues, we have a SAFE program for fire safety, what to do. Obviously, we have put a lot of COVID money in for renovations. Schools was a big part of state and federal dollars to do building renovations to address ventilation issues. The school building assistance program, very crucial. We provide between 60 and 90% reimbursement, on the state bond, not the city bond. The city still has to provide money. It's not like it's free money. They have to provide their percentage. But, Quincy High School, Central Middle School, new windows at Walden School in Montclair. The Squantum School has been approved. That's in the works, so that the city has to come up with its debt, come up with its share of the debt, and we'll put up our share of the debt. I think Atherton Howard had new windows put in one time. So even the older schools would benefit from some renovations.
Yes, a new Southwest Middle School.
Oh yeah, the South Middle School. That school's. I keep thinking. I keep forgetting it's called Southwest. To be honest with you.
Oh, it's Sterling for you. It's old Sterling School. Yeah. Yeah,
those are of an older generation. I remember as Sterling. But there's also like Lincoln Hancock at some point is going to be in the queue, for some renovations down the road, I suspect. And but we also look at Clifford Marshall School, which was actually one of the older, newest schools, which I believe the debt's already been paid off on that. But I mean, the state, again, is a huge partner on capital improvements that cities put together and try to reduce the debt load on the city's side by adopting it on bonding on our side. And this, we talk about this show a lot about interest rates. Obviously the state's going to pick up a larger share because interest rates are higher than it has been in the past. When it was closer to 0% interest rates, obviously, it was very easy for us to provide our end of the bonding, but I suspect to be a little bit of belt tightening as numbers are readjusted for bonds that are between 3 and 5%, depending on where you're on the Moody, S&P, Standard & Poor's, scale of credit rating. So, but I mean, the state is a huge contributor. And that's just an example of probably like a half dozen things I talked about. I mean, it doesn't include the money to the public library. The city library is part of the state library assistance program. You put in the budget every year. And of course, you put money to Quincy College delegation, put in some financial assistance money for Quincy College. And doing that in the last several budgets, plus some COVID money in the past. So city's done very well in this public school system. Again, we're very dependent on the school committee and the mayor to make the best policy decisions on the funding that we provide. But, for the most part, other than like, school breakfast, which is what it's for, that takes the burden off the city budget. And the city has to decide how they're going to do allocation, resource reallocation. So if you're listening, you have an interest in the school system, obviously you should contact your school committee, watch the school committee meetings, see what the policies are, and, act, and think about, what you think about these reallocations. But often, I think many parents, if you're a parent here listening, you didn't probably realize exactly how big an investment the state delegation puts into your public schools to take some of the burden off of for you as a local taxpayer by shifting the cost to all taxpayers, because that's what we do. We basically take all taxpayer money, and I'm going to gamble that we probably get more than our fair share per person on tax dollars in the school system. I can tell you that definitely the Chapter 90 money we do very well. We definitely get more back than other communities.
Right.
Because of the ratio of the size of the city. On the ratios on the roads. So I mean, obviously I don't want to disparage or take away from other taxpayers in other parts of the state, but last time I checked, I'm a sitting representative from Quincy, so we're going to grab as much as we can.
Are there any formal sessions on Beacon Hill this week, Jackie?
Yeah, we got a formal session and the clock is teed up for tomorrow. We're doing economic development bond bill is what's being teed up. That's what it sounds like. So, it looks like we're going to continue to steam forward ahead on these larger pieces. This could be a 1 day or 2 day debate, depending on how many amendments are filed. I already gave the Speaker's office and Ways and Means a head up. I'm going to try to push every small policy piece. You guys have heard me talk at infinitum in the past about these smaller bills that aren't earth-shattering, but are relevant to certain professions regarding things like date changes and continuing education updates. So, I'm pushing to see if I can get that stuff in or flag some attention on moving these smaller pieces. There's an Angie bill that's now moved from rumor to reality. Details are now surfacing in State House News Service about us releasing some kind of energy/climate change bill again. It looks like it's going to come out straight out of Ways and Means in the House. I know Juneteenth is next week. It's a public holiday, I believe, on a Wednesday.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean we couldn't hold a session on Tuesday or Thursday. So, stay tuned. We get our schedules late in the afternoon or early evening on Friday by email. So it's always kind of like an influx. And then July 4th, I believe, is 2 weeks out. Those are 3 weeks out from now on a Thursday. So we could have
Yeah, 3 weeks. Yep.
yeah, we could have a session going into that week. And then I've already told the staff the last 3 weeks of the month from the 15th on in July, don't schedule any outside the State House meetings. Plan for all meetings inside the State House, or at least, walking distance from the State House from here on in, because we just don't know when the schedule is going to pop on formal sessions as we close out at the end of the night on July 31st. So again, I've already started us on a massive schedule migration, and folks that are looking for meetings, might have to take a staffer as opposed to me going into the end of the month. And obviously, I still review all the constituent service stuff that comes in. Don't get me wrong; it's not like keep an eye on it, but it is going to get pretty crazy. And we fully expect there may be some schedule fluctuations as we go along, and some RSPV regrets. But also events are still going, as we talked about this past weekend. We got high school graduations this week. I got actually I had family last week. We talked about that. I had some family from Hong Kong. You had to do some logistics for. Last week, on top of the housing bond bill, on top of trying to get my own committee stuff, my personal legislation, constituent services, press stuff, getting you and the Quincy signed press stuff. So I mean, we had trying to get ahead of the curve. So it's about 50-ish days left, give or take. And we're getting primed to finish the session. So it doesn't happen like in the final day. As I remind folks, the legislature is like watching a football game. We go in once a week or twice a week, but there's a whole week worth of preparation before we head in. And we're not privy to every detail. We just got to be ready to go when leadership says go in the schedule. And I think that's kind of something that most people don't realize, is that I'm always in prep mode. Once the schedule set, we got to move quickly. And it's also experience. I mean, not just from being a rep, but also working for Michael Morrissey. He always had us in constant readiness. So it's exhausting, just to let you know, being in constant readiness. Also, Joe, I think you're getting a little dim on me. I think your lighting's a little off.
Yeah, my ring light is fading, and nothing I can do about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, the man's turning into the shadows. Joe's melting into the shadows if you're actually watching this first to listen to us on the podcast. So if you're on the podcast, just have this vision of Joe just melting into the shadows in front of me on Zoom.
I always said I'm better heard than seen anyway, so it's just as well I just fade to black and not come back.
Well, given how much I've been seeing, I'm feeling I just want to be heard too now.
And we got to see you in the Flag Day parade.
I'll be there for Flag Day. I'll be in Cohasset that morning. Constituent received an award from Social Arts. I think I don't know. I got to look at the schedule. So that's going on. It's a relatively lighter week. It's only a 4 out of 7 day event week on after hours or personal. Oh, I don't have personal time anymore, folks. Was I telling John Keenan? I can never have a 9 to 5 job, even though I'm working 60 hours a week.
Right. Every day is different, I'm sure.
Yeah, people often mistake that we have like vacation time and sick time and personal time. I don't get PTO. It is, at my discretion as elected to manage my own time the best I can. And the staff has been working with me as we're looking at my calendar and realizing that we had been overpacking, like 2 solid weeks at a time and realized that I got laundry to do. I actually didn't, I forgot I had laundry to do too. My chief of staff mentioned, all the little chores. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got this massive pile of laundry and ironing I get done. So I am single, folks. I do everything myself, as you guys have discovered. Mow the lawn, get the laundry, make food, dinner, and since I have food allergies, I have to prep enough food so I can bring to the work for the rest of the week, eating leftovers, and obviously my own ironing and paying my bills, and obviously campaign finance stuff. I'm still in fundraising mode as part of the summer period. And once I get a chance to focus a bit, I'll take a look at um, the candidates list, who's got races. And I have two friends, actually two personal friends, and they are running for office. Amy Mastrangelo is running for the Kay Khan seat in Newton in Democratic primary, which in Newton, since it's a very liberal district, primary is what matters. And then my other friend David Martin is running in Mansfield, which is Jay Barrows, who's leaving us as well, a Republican there, and he's got a primary and a final. So I got to do some catch up with them soon on how their campaigns are going. So it's been, on top of that, I got that stuff. And actually, I met a council for cultural affairs for the People's Republic of China at the Dragon Boat Festival, as well as the new director for the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office. So at some point, I'm going to have to engage them, but not in the near term. And
Has there
a
been
whole lot
any
going on.
discussion? What's that, Ziggy?
No, it's just a whole lot going on, as you can hear.
Yeah. What about the sales tax holiday? Has that been set yet for this year?
Should be getting set soon. I believe we set that probably around mid-June. I think it's about a 2 month time period before. I suspect it's going to be near, or actually all year around my birthday. I think it's going to be around the 9th to the 10th. It's going to be the weekend after, which would be the 13th, and no, 7 plus 9 would be 16, and 17, someone around there. So it's got to be one of those two dates. I would give it another maybe 2 weeks as the legislature makes a recommendation to the governor. We'll set a sales tax holiday. So that'll be coming up. But I give that a couple of weeks, and you're probably going to read out news service before. I'm probably going to read out news service too, actually.
Okay, so if I find out first, I'll let you know.
I suspect you're going to find out first. Some of the stuff I pick up on State House News, just like you, on news service. My staff does monitor that as well, and they also do monitor some social media stuff on top of other things. And as you know, the Boston Globe and Herald and AP and other folks still use Twitter and X to get the information out as their social media. I mean, it's basically become a platform for news services to try to get out breaking news. So, that's why I keep saying, folks, no social media message, because there's just too much information hitting the office at one time as we're trying to monitor a lot of things at once, trying to figure out what's happening in the State House and also around the State House. And I'd still rely on you and the Patriot Ledger and the Quincy Sun about Quincy stuff in the news, but also what's going on at City Hall. So it's a lot to keep your eyes on. On top of that, you got the Fed stuff, and you guys know that Congress is difficult. And to pay attention to some international news, like this past weekend, the EU Congress has shifted again to some of the more right-leaning parties. The UK has their parliamentary snap election set for July 4th, which I find kind of amusing. I know it's relevant to them in many ways, but it's relevant to us, obviously. And President Macron in France decided to do a snap election as well for its parliament to dissolve and reform in basically a 6-week or less snap election, which he puts himself at enormous risk because right now he has a coalition majority. He has an enormous risk of getting his complete party blown out during a quick election. So you think it's crazy here, folks, in an election. Imagine a president and prime minister just deciding, I'm going to dissolve the parliament and then, run an election in, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, try and campaign for that. That'd be a challenge.
Yeah, those folks are very, very dependent on two things. One is that the party has to raise a lot of money. I mean,
Right.
has to, because they got to do the redistribution. So, if you're the party in power and you have some clues when you're going to have the snap election, obviously you have the inside track to get that fundraising moving earlier. But also there's high risk. You may have a worse margin. Theresa May, for example, did that in the UK snap election, and she had a very slim majority to no majority. There's high risk. And in case you're wondering, the EU Congress is not like how they run in the US. It's this very peculiar election system where it's not like country party affiliated. They have to be EU registered, and it's much more difficult. It's also not during normal election cycles, so nobody knows an election, so the turnout's miserable, and it's a whole different critter because the EU is actually modeled after the United States in terms of its basic format. It's just that there's so many more nuances when you deal with a formation of a country versus existing countries who have to make decisions by treaty and agreements on how they're going to operate. And of course, the party has to vet the candidates before they put them out there. So given the number of scandals in Europe regarding their candidates, I mean, the vetting process has become much, much, much more rigorous regarding your candidate's personal life, but also their professional life. So the party picks their candidates that way for the highest percentage of victory because, it takes just one unsavory thing about a candidate out there, and it tarnishes the whole party.
Yeah. We bring it back locally and talk a little bit about your hopefully meeting with the new DCR commissioner.
We've been communicating with the new DCR commissioner's staff regarding, again, the streetlights are a huge priority for me on Furnace-Brook Parkway and along Queen Shore Drive. I mean, that's easy, still number one. The beach actually doesn't look too bad. I've seen the new fencing go up around the grass patches. I'm suspecting it's because they don't want people walking in the grass patches because I know they've been reseeding. And been planting some seagrass here and there. There's this massive amount that's obviously at the end of Fennel and Queen Shore Drive, where I drive out of. And we need lifeguards. We still need lifeguards. If you have a summer job interest, please look at the DCR website. We'll train you and pay you to be trained for summer lifeguarding. And I'll probably try to get an updated commissioner meeting sometime in the early fall or very late summer, probably close to early fall on some of the progress. Obviously, dredging is still on the top of my mind. We got some cash. I'm hoping to get some more bond money in the Econ Dev bill. But, it's a bit of a stretch to call it Econ Dev, but I'm going to try. Obviously, city has to come up with its portion, and my office is having a conversation with the city on its 20% share and how they're going to get it. And the DCR commission is going to try to make sure we hold on to the cash that we got. Like we've got $1.2 million, I think, in cash, $1.3 million. So, we're working with the commission trying to make sure we are able to, secure that money somehow in the safe spot inside the DCR. So, I mean, yeah, we got a lot, going on there at the DCR front. We also seen more summertime patrols starting already. They're using money from we're still in the previous fiscal cycle. So, the Bruce and John and myself in particular, fight to get the overtime patrols along Walsall Beach with the state troopers. I talked to Councilor Mitten, the Ward 5 councilor, who was a Quincy police officer, and they've been in communication with DCR getting ready and the state police getting ready for the summertime. So make sure that people have a safe summer on the beach. So yeah, but I mean, we got the overtime money again this fiscal year's budget. Next fiscal year's budget, and I fully expect that to survive the budget process. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Speaking of Senator Keenan, I know that there's imminent passage of his revenge porn bill, hopefully.
Hopefully, I mean, this is something I expressed frustration to pass with the Senate last session regarding the fact that they seem to not figure this out. I mean, I know that John Keenan was working very, very, very hard last section, trying to get his colleagues in the Senate to come to their senses on why this is such an important issue. John leading a conference committee on behalf of the Senate, who's been working on this for 4 years now, was able to negotiate with House members. And obviously, I'm not privy to the details because conference committee is one of those things that you don't tell the public what's happening. But good work by John Keenan and all the folks on the conference committee that hopefully will have something coming out. If not this week, hopefully next week, or hopefully by next week.
Excellent. Very good. So moving forward, Techie, what are some of the amendments that you were hoping to pass?
Well, I mean, we have a cat declawing bill. We want to ban cat declawing as a medical emergency. Those who don't realize when you declaw a cat, you're knocking off a finger, for lack of a better term. You take off the knuckle, which is just terrible, actually, to do to an animal. And veterinarians support ending this practice, except in case of a medical emergency. I have a real estate board continuing education update. We have veterinarian licensing, which they wanted to make the move. We're looking at things like the dental hygienist bill, which you probably have heard from Dr. Avery. We have an interview with him regarding the shortage of hygienists and having foreign trade dentists to be able to do hygienic work here. They've been working with the hygienists. It looks like we are filing an amendment. Doesn't look like we are going to file an amendment to make sure these foreign-born dentists are practice licensed and educated, take the dental hygienist exam to help address that shortfall issue. So that's on there. Dental diversions on the list. That is again another dentist issue regarding folks that succumb to substance abuse, and give them a second chance by getting recovery before yanking their license. So yeah, that's a few of the quite a few amendments that we're going to be filing for Econ Dev and see what happens. And my staff and I sent memos to the Speaker's office to Ways and Means, and are making that hard push that if these things don't get out of Econ Dev amendment, definitely convincing future bills. I'm actually aware of the new state employee collective bargaining contract funding. I've been hearing from folks, and I like you, I do not want another fiasco like we did this past November. I would definitely be among the members pushing, like, don't do this a second time with the House leadership. And try to get this done well before July 31st is what our hope is. So we're definitely pushing for that. And so, yeah, I mean, those are a small sample of the things I'm working on. I know this is so very exciting, I know, but I mean, these are important things to do, that are updates and, continue these professions that should keep up with the changes in the 21st century.
Yeah, speaking of dentists, I'm curious, how's the new law regulating dental insurance? Have you heard anything about how that's working?
Yeah, one insurer is pulled out of the state. The rest of insurers are going to work to comply. The Division of Insurance, does have regulations, which I think should be approved, if not approved this summer, to enforce this regarding reimbursement rate. In case you're wondering, the public voted in favor of a ballot initiative to have dentists essentially have a similar reimbursement rate as doctors on your insurance cost. The reimbursement rate it's not going to impact your premiums very much, but it ensures that you're going to get at least 72%, I believe, of every dollar you spend actually put back into healthcare, meaning your care, as opposed to being pocketed by the insurance companies who try to force the lowest rate possible to pocket the remainder. The thing about dental insurance is it gets much, much less attention than doctors' health insurance. As a result, most of us didn't realize exactly how badly we're getting ripped off essentially by dental insurance companies compared to the more regulated healthcare insurance for doctors. The healthcare reform bill that we moved out a couple of weeks ago, sitting in the Senate, moves the entire health insurance industry to a separate board away from the Division of Insurance to try to much more specialize and hyper-focus in on health insurance costs and what's causing the premium changes. Division Insurance obviously handles all insurance companies, and that can be very overwhelming. So that's essentially what the voters voted for, and the Division Insurance currently is moving forward in regulations. But some of you may have seen your insurance for dentists have changed, but I mean, there's still, I think, another like 8 companies that are in Massachusetts that always been here. So yeah, I mean, the voters did right to ensure that they will get their investment in their dental insurance coming back to them.
Yeah, although I can tell you that some, like my own dentist, for instance, doesn't accept insurance anymore. So there's that too.
Well, yeah, this is also an issue regarding administrative costs associated with, administering your practice, including things like dealing with insurance. And Mass Health is actually part of it. So, well, we're not as greatly as comprehensive as some private insurance. Some private insurance is probably equivalent to Mass Health, but some are probably a little bit better. There's always been a battle with the medical profession, regarding the amount of paperwork and accountability on these insurance forms, because fraud does happen. Sometimes patient fraud, sometimes it's medical professional fraud. But I mean, it's as every time there's fraud, you pay the price. So it's a burdensome issue. I understand, for the medical professions, particularly administrative costs. Also, maybe you should try to find a dentist that does take insurance at some point, Joe.
Well, they used to. So it might be time for a change, I guess. Yeah.
Dental care is critical for a lot of good reasons. You can't chew, you can't eat. Your health is directly tied to nutrition. So, having good dental care is very important for that. And you also have a, quite frankly, visual issue. People do like people with nice smiles. I mean, this is a psychological part of our society. And also, good appearance creates pride in yourself. I mean, and having good teeth and a smile also helps your own self-esteem. I'm a little disheveled, as you all know, sometimes, but that's just tacky being tacky. But most people do want to look good. It's how you get a job. It's how you do customer service. It's how you help impress people with a nice smile. And obviously, like I said, as you get older, your teeth do wear down, and you need good dental care. And then if you're undergoing any kind of cancer treatment, good dental care is also very important, because if you actually have, let's say, an infection, it could really hamper your dental your cancer care if there's a major infection in your mouth that could go to your brain. So getting back as much money as you can on your health insurance costs for you, and we'd like to make some changes to Mass Health to do more, not just necessarily preventative, but more less intrusive. Like, we should not force teeth yanking as the first option. Perhaps a crown, which is much more expensive than yanking a tooth. Big surprise. Yanking a teeth, those is cheaper than putting a crown on. Is the preferable course for people in Mass Health, especially senior citizens. And I think this is kind of, again, the lack of understanding by folks in Mass Health in particular, and other policymakers in DC, and some here in Massachusetts, but I think we're a little more forward thinking than those in DC, that, you may be able to afford good dental care, but the vast majority of Americans can't. And
Mm.
having proper reimbursement rates, having proper coverage will help everyone live longer, but also healthier and more satisfying lives.
We have to cut it short today, Tacky. But here's an opportunity for you to tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Oh, well, reach out to the office, 617-722-2370, 617-722-2370. As you heard, my staff is diligently working, so we are staffed. Come visit us in room 42. Actually, school tours are back in the building as we head into the summertime. It's great to see the kids from around the state enjoying the State House. So if we come visit, it's going to be getting more crowded as we head to tourist season and end of school year season. But yeah, room 42, tackey.chan at inmatehouse.gov, tacky.chan at inmatehouse.gov is my email. I do read and sort my own emails. You have at Tacky Chan at X, and also State Representative Tacky Chan on Facebook. You may, and Instagram now, Tacky Chan Instagram, I think. It's tied to my Facebook account, so it might be State Representative at Instagram. I don't know any more people. There's just too many of these things. But I have
People that use it know how to use it.
yeah, you can all find me if you know how to use this. Because I'm losing track of my ability to do so. But you can see a whole bunch of pictures, including graduation and places I've been. Soaking wet at the Dragon Boat Festival, for example. You can see me wearing a clear poncho if you want to have a chuckle. But yeah, my social media will let you know I've been, and we'll put out some useful information, other things as time goes along. Like, for example, storm events. We like to get information up about national grid, don't touch wires, and who to call, kind of thing. And of course, we have TaxiChina.org, which is a reference page, and people do reach out. And MAlegislature.gov. MAlegislature.gov is a great to watch our formal sessions, public hearings, track the bills, great to counter tracking bills. And lastly, but not least, me and Joe talking about,
Woohoo!
yes, woohoo, this is the most exciting part of new service for you on nearly a weekly basis. But I think we're all heading to summertime, so we might be having some more intermittent shows as we do so.
Unless we do them from the beach, or I would do them from the beach.
I wouldn't interrupt your fun time. But no,
Oh no, this is the fun time, Jackie.
well, I do enjoy our time together 4 years deep. So
Yes.
uh so yeah, that's all. So I mean, obviously reach out, to Joe, and obviously Joe in the morning, his podcast gives you a good 10 minutes of local news as well.
Alrighty, have a great week, and we'll catch up not on Juneteenth because that's the holidays you mentioned, but sometime before or after then.
Yeah, happy Flag Day, and also happy Father's Day coming up this Sunday as well. So, perhaps see some of the parade, but also, be thankful for your fathers, and hope you are able to celebrate or remember, in your father, and the way you all do, good memories of them.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks a lot, Jackie.
Take care, Joe.